Okay. Welcome. You're listening to Beyond the Front Door podcast with Lindee and Rhea at Peak Properties. And we are real estate agents. And we bring you stories that make you laugh, cry, cringe, inform you, all the things. So come on in. We put the real in real estate. And
We're
this is
doing
our
our
first
first
Zoom.
Yep, our first virtual podcasts because where are you at?
I am in Boston at the NAR NXT conference. And yeah, this could like open some doors for a lot of people to be on our podcast that aren't
Ooh,
where
really?
we are.
Yes, that's awesome.
Good. It's going
Well,
to be
I
cool.
I am on day 3 of requireds training because
Yes, so I
apparently I'm
think
behind.
this is a good time to tell people who aren't realtors
Mhm.
that we have to continually learn, and we take classes,
Mhm.
electives, required classes, ethics classes.
Yeah,
I'm at this conference because I'm on the MLS board. I was the president this last year, and actually Monday I passed it off to Belinda Sawyer. And
want to come say hi? We
we
got
have
we
we have
got
realtors there with Rhea.
we got Steve
Oh,
Willoughby here.
hi,
Hi,
Steve. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We just had 2.5 days of continuing education, so we got another 4 hours.
So we've done title, uh,
Insurance.
title insurance. We've done fair housing.
Okay.
We did real estate law in general
Mhm.
yesterday. This morning was valuation and finance. And this afternoon is,
Risk management and technology.
yeah, yep.
Nice.
So Steve here is very entertaining. So it's been a good, it's been a good 3 days. So, and yeah.
That's
So, and
awesome.
so you want to hear a funny term that has caught on for the last couple of days?
Yes.
When something feels icky. That's
The
been
ick.
now whenever I go to do a transaction with Tyler, I'm gonna somehow work it into my texting
You're like, I'm getting
conversation.
the ick.
Yeah, I'm
The
getting
ick.
the ick.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I'm
So
actually adopting that also.
yeah, he's been using it
This
too.
feels
So it feels icky.
Well, that's funny that you say that, because a lot of what we are talking about here and that what NAR is talking about in these meetings are things that sometimes give you the ick. Like,
Oh,
you know, just being transparent, and like that lack of transparency sometimes it's kind of feels icky.
well, well, and Steve's mantra has been when in doubt, disclose.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that makes sense.
We disclose, they decide, right?
Right.
You got it.
That's
You
right.
got it.
That's
Got
right.
it. Well, hey, enjoy yourself at the conference. I miss
Thank
going to
you.
those conferences. We haven't,
Yeah, so fun.
but it is a lot of fun to
Mhm.
see all of your fellow realtors.
Yeah.
It is. It's really cool.
Good deal.
All right.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Steve.
Thank you. So yeah, I was just going to talk about like 3 topics that have been discussed quite a bit so far,
Okay.
and I kind of mentioned one of them, but we're talking a lot about the MLS, what the future of the MLS looks like. We're talking about transparency, as far as transparency with consumers, transparency with third-party real estate sites, which is kind of a new thing. And then
Sure.
obviously the value of a realtor and how we can continue to share with the public our value, because we are valued. I mean, we bring something very important to the real estate industry.
We've talked
Can't
about
do
that.
it without us.
Right. We've talked about a lot about that this week as well, that the information that just like what you're doing and what I'm doing here today, in terms of that continuous education so that we are providing the best service we can to our clients so that they can make good decisions. And you're right, it isn't, we've all mentioned it, that it gets so frustrating that there's people out there online that are saying, oh, all realtors do is unlock doors and, draw up a sample contract. And it's so much more than that. So,
Well, yeah, now we also navigate like lawsuits,
right. Right. And it
apparently.
sounds like there's more to come.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
are more. Yesterday, I was in a meeting and all they did was go through all of the lawsuits, and you would be amazed at how many there are going on right now.
Ugh.
Some have just started, some are towards the end, some are being appealed. So yeah, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some the
Okay, so this was kind of interesting, but the evolving landscape of real estate and the MLS is like in the forefront of all the discussions and like what's going to happen. And because we've had all these changes and more changes are coming, but they've talked a lot about increased transparency for consumers. And so one example that I found interesting was these websites where agents can pay to have their listings promoted. And they're saying that it's like blurring the lines between organic listings and paid advertisements. So buyers are clicking on these listings as they're popping up and not really understanding that some of those have been paid for their visibility rather than the listing agent just posting them. So I don't want to mention any sites because I don't want to, you know, point fingers, but consumers sometimes are clicking on these things thinking they're going to get the listing agent or like, I have a question about this listing. And then they get 3, 4 agents start calling them. And
well,
so
and the thing
they
that's
find
frustrating.
themselves, yeah, so they find themselves getting multiple calls from agents without really understanding how they even ended up in that situation. And I'm not saying it's bad for you to talk to several agents, but sometimes that's not what they thought they were getting. So they're talking about how we move forward to like clarify some of that stuff. And a meeting I was just in was kind of interesting because they were saying, I can't remember, I think it was Australia they were using as an example, but on their sites like realtor.com, Zillow, homes.com, all those, it says on the listing, this is a paid advertisement, or this is, um, they're like disclosing that to consumers.
Sure.
So, and also, yeah, so that's one thing. I mean, I think it was
So
going to be hard, but
the question I have, I feel like there's two kind of issues within that, and you tell me your thoughts. But the first is I do think it's frustrating when buyers click on a home and then several agents are contacting them, number one, but also that like the listing agent in some of those sites, the listing agent's actual phone number is not what's listed there. It's whatever phone number that takes you to their site. And I do find that really frustrating. Like it
and
should
maybe like
be,
a little misleading. I did add that
yes.
on here too. That is something they're saying like it is sometimes extremely hard to find the listing brokerage and the listing agent. You're
Yes.
looking through a thing. How many times have we went to the site just because you're not at your computer or you're not on
Yep.
our MLS and you're like, who's listed this? And you're like, or
Yep.
your client just texted you an address and you're like, okay, I have to figure out who's listing. And we even struggle sometimes to
Mhm.
find that information.
But so then on the flip side, I would say that if they're like, I'm just going to use, for example, like Zillow or Realtor.com or whatever. Um, if an agent has the ability to boost a house or to like have an ad for a house in an app, I guess I would question what would be wrong with that.
I
If,
don't think they're saying it would be wrong, but they're thinking we should disclose that.
oh, sure, say that it's paid
It
advertising.
should be this is paid advertisement. If you look at
Sure.
other things that you click on, it does say paid
Yeah,
advertisement in
that's true.
other
Sure.
areas of
And
us
then
shopping. I
when a
don't know.
buyer
That's the
clicks
first
on
time
it,
I've heard this. So
yeah.
coming up.
Well, and then if the buyer clicks on it, that it takes you to the actual listing agent or their phone number and not, you know, otherwise.
Well, because I've had people go, well, I clicked on it. I thought I was getting you as the listing agent, but I got someone else. And then I had questions and they were like, well, let me reach out to the listing agent.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I thought I was calling the listing agent. Yeah, I think that's just one of the things because the biggest thing is just trying to be very transparent with everything we do to the public and that putting them and their interests above everything.
So one other thing I want to add really quick about those sites is that they're getting all those listings from the MLS. And I feel like there's some perception out there that that should just be a free service, like that access to all those homes because currently it's actually free for the general public to look at and see, that it's just what people don't realize is the reason why that can exist is because us realtors pay the dues in to make that happen. If realtors weren't paying the dues to the MLS, that MLS would not exist. And then we
And
would
putting all the data in there and
right,
putting all the data. Where do you think the
right,
data is coming from? So there's
right.
just another way that we bring value is how are you going to search for these things if there's no listings and there's no
Yep,
MLS,
that's
there's
right.
no data.
That's right. So
I don't know.
you
Your home.
we have to pay into the MLS. That's not a free thing. And I think I see so many comments of people being like, this is just available to us now and it's free. So I don't understand why
Like,
we
why do I need you? I have Zillow.
right, exactly. Well, you wouldn't have Zillow if you didn't have us. So yeah,
True.
right.
Okay, so then the second thing I was going to talk about is on party websites, like we're talking about, it's I said I already talked about this a little bit. It's hard to find the listing brokerage and the agent's information sometimes. And it's saying that this lack of transparency can make it difficult for consumers to identify, I mean, who's involved in the real estate transaction, and they should be able to see that. And maybe they want to see who the listing agent is because they don't want to use the listing agent. They want to make sure they use a different brokerage so they're
Sure.
not in the intermediary role, which is another thing that I'll talk about. But um, they're saying that buyers are struggling to distinguish between listings and understanding the roles of different agents. So there's just another need for transparency on these platforms. They
Mhm.
talked a little bit about even people don't know when you're being paid like a referral. They're saying even like that kind of stuff should be disclosed. So they don't even know, hey, I got this lead from this source and I pay for that. And then I pay a referral
Sure.
fee to them for sending them to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, saying that's not even transparent. I mean, it's not.
Right. Yeah.
Then they talked a lot about agents, the concept of agents acting as intermediaries, and I have my own personal feelings about this, but um, it's like sparked some discussions on the pros and cons. As intermediaries, we can provide we're a neutral party to facilitate communications and negotiations between the buyer and the seller. However, the roles of the buyer's agent and the listing agent can also
Become blurred.
become blurred, and that's difficult. So the meeting I was just in, they were just very much for each party having their own representation.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel like that's 95% that is 95% of the time that's the best way.
Mhm.
I think there are certain circumstances. I've done intermediary a lot of times. I'm not going to lie, it's not my favorite. I feel you're just really stuck in the middle and you have to be very conscious about everything you say
Mhm.
and how because you can't put any party at a disadvantage. You can't really give advice. You're really just the I disclose, you decide.
Yep.
And I think sometimes a seller might like that. And then sometimes they might be like, no, hired you to be my agent. They can get their own agent. So
I
really,
I agree. I actually feel like being an intermediary is a little bit of a liability because if somebody comes back and thinks that you misrepresented or, you led in one way or the other, it's a kind of an uncomfortable situation. And unless you say, like you say, it's a very specific
yeah. So I have an
kind of
example of
transaction.
one.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I have one where a seller contacted me and wanted to sell his house. And he's like, but here's the situation. I want to hire you, but I already have someone to buy it. They're the renters who live in it. So
Oh,
in that situation, was an intermediary and I helped them negotiate and get all of that under contract. And I was fine with that was fine and that's what he wanted.
right.
Um
And they were fine with it and
yeah,
yeah.
and it worked out fine. So there's just certain situations where I can see why you would want to. I was talking to Lisa yesterday and I was telling her about that specific investor that was messaging us and that I was reading the messages again and he was like, "Why wouldn't you as a listing agent want all the money?" And I thought, "That sounds icky."
Yeah,
That's
there's
not why
that
you
word.
do it. There it is. There's the
Yeah,
ick. You're like,
there's the ick.
something seems wrong about this.
Yeah,
That's not why you should be doing it because you want both sides of the transaction.
yeah.
Is it best for the buyer? Is it best for the seller? I
And
think we have to
I want to point
continue
that
to ask.
out. I want to point that out because we've talked about that a lot over the last few days and speaks to what you're saying is that whoever we represent, the buyer or the seller, their best interests come before ours. And I think that there's a general conception or perception out there that realtors are only looking out for themselves. And as with every profession, there are bad apples in every profession. But for the majority of the people that I know, all of us are working for the best interest of our client, if it's the buyer or for the seller. And even if it comes at the expenses, I don't know if that's the best word, but
Of us.
of us,
Yeah.
then that's how it is. That's just what we do. I think that people don't even fully understand everything that we do and kind of absorb, even financially, to help a transaction close because it's in the best interest of the buyer or the seller. Or even to say maybe this isn't something you should be moving forward with because it's not in your best interest. And that also means that I'm not getting a commission because we're not going to do a transaction. But those things happen. And I just, the philosophy and the what do you want to call it, the value set is supposed to be that our clients' best interests come before ours. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And then I think the biggest thing that they're going to just keep pushing, and they need to, because we just have to keep telling all the agents that we have to show our value because not everyone knows all the things that we do.
Mhm.
So real estate agents have a wealth of value that we bring to consumers. And so that's what everyone keeps talking about. How can you share your value? How can you tell the public all the things we do? Because, we haven't been always good at that. And why they need a real estate agent.
Yeah.
So I wrote down some of them, but from marketing knowledge to negotiation skills, through guiding you through the buying and selling process, we know all the complexities of the real estate market. Um, we do marketing. We are aware of any issues. Like there's just a lot of things you could miss not having an agent.
I was just trying to think of a good analogy that we could use that maybe the everyday person would connect with. And to tell me if you think this one would be good, but if you own a car and your check engine light comes on, you can plug it into a reader and it will say, this in general is what is wrong with it, whatever the case is. And you can do your research and you can go to the store and you can replace that part. And I can tell you, because I've been through this in my own family, maybe 7 or 8 times out of 10, it still doesn't fix the problem, right? And so by taking it to a shop, now again, some people, and this is the same way in real estate, some people can get to the bottom of it and fix the car themselves. Me, I'm going to take my car to a shop, to somebody who has worked on my brand of vehicle however many times over. They're very possibly going to tell me that that part often goes out so I have a Jeep. They're maybe going to say, yeah, that part goes out in Jeeps all the time, this year to this year and this year to that year and blah, blah, blah. And they already know how many hours it's going to take to fix it, how much it's going to cost, blah, blah, blah. This is the problem. They understand all the nuances. That's what you're paying for, is that knowledge and that expertise, because you can go through several parts and try to fix the car yourself, and you may eventually get there. But in my experience, that ends up costing me more money oftentimes than just
Yes.
taking it to the shop.
Well, and
And
we say that all the time.
right,
Not to attack anyone and for sale by owners or anything like that, but they're leaving money on the table. They're
right.
trying to avoid paying real estate fees. And in turn, they're underselling their houses. They don't have some of the knowledge that they get into negotiations with repairs and such. And then they can lose money there because they don't have someone doing those negotiations for them that has done it a million times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it is it is just kind of the way that it works. And, it's our value and it's what we bring to the table. So,
Yeah. And then obviously there's going to be a lot of talks about the buyer's agency and signing that before showing listings. We were in one meeting and I was telling Lisa also, this gentleman who stood up and spoke, man, I wish we could bring him to Wyoming, but there are people trying to catch you not
yes,
doing that. And
right.
if they do, we're in really big trouble because
Hmm.
the lawsuit says we're protected if we follow those rules of the settlement. The second they catch you not doing that, we are no longer protected.
Right,
We can be sued.
right.
So I know everyone's probably thinking, oh, I don't, how are they going to know? There's testers out there, just like with fair housing.
Sure. Yeah,
There's people here who have said they've had testers walk into their open houses. They've had calls from people that are pretending to see if you are doing what you're supposed to be doing.
sure.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, we got to do our jobs, right, guys?
Sorry, I you guys are
Be
fine.
in trouble. Are they listening to me?
Nope, there's just two fellow realtors here grabbing their lunch out of the room. So,
Oh, okay. But yeah, those are the things. But yeah, I'm having a really fun time.
good.
This is my first time in Boston, and it is super cool city. And yeah, I like
Yeah,
it.
so I've seen that you were at Fenway Park,
Yes,
and
I got to do a tour of Fenway Park. We
that's
went to a
awesome.
Celtics
Celtics
game.
game. That
I
looks
love
awesome.
going places and then seeing what's happening, while
Yeah.
we're here and being like, what could I go to that I wouldn't like
Yeah.
I wouldn't travel here
Ordinarily.
just for that. But yeah, and I went to a concert last night for Tyler Hubbard.
Oh, I saw it, but I didn't know who it was. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
Tyler Hubbard from he was in Florida Georgia Line and now
Hmm.
he's his own, he went out on his own. And then tonight Realtor.com has rented out, as far as I understand, the MGM Music Hall,
Oh,
and we get to go there and like play games and have snacks and yeah. So that will be
cool.
fun.
And then you're coming back on Monday. Is that the
I'm coming
thing?
back on Monday.
It's
Yep.
kind of a long conference.
It's
Like
very long. Every time I'm like, yeah, it's long.
that
A
feels
lot of
long.
these are. There's CMLS is the shortest one. It's like 3 days, and the rest are like 7 days long.
That's,
It's a
I
lot.
mean,
And
I
you
could,
should see how many sessions.
uh,
It's so crazy. Like you could go to a session on anything you couldn't
could
think of.
possibly want.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
the benefit of you paying for yourself to go versus like working for an employer and going to a conference like that is if you need a break, and skip out for an hour or two or the afternoon, you can do that and it's just fine. So
Yeah, I
good for
was
you.
just walking with a lady from Florida this morning and well, we were joking because it's super windy today here, like super windy. And I was
Yeah.
like, sorry, I might have brought
We
that with
brought it
me.
with.
She was like, oh, it was you. I'm like, yeah. Um,
Wyoming is in the house.
yeah. But she was saying there's so many sessions, like she goes to one and then she's got to like leave one early to like book it to the next one. And it is, I want to go to the expo. So cool. I'll have to post a picture of it. It is huge and it's just all these vendors and all these, you can go talk to anyone and learn about anything you want.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you, sitting in class for 8 hours a day for 3 days straight is very hard for me. It's been a lot, but I'm going to be glad to have it done. And he provided like a list of online like electives. And, I definitely want to sort of spread my education out over the next few years because just the refresh and the updates are really nice to have. And waiting 3 years to do that just doesn't make sense. So I am going to try I mean, I've got electives out the wazoo, but requireds, I need to stay up with a little bit better. But I can tell you one thing I did last night that was a lot of fun. I recently helped a woman out of Colorado close on a home I think it was the very early part of September, like end of August, early September. So she's new and wanting to make some friends. And I actually have a few other clients that I have helped move to Cheyenne from Colorado, and they get together at Blacktooth every once in a while and hang out. So I asked if we could get together last night and I can invite this new woman who has just moved to Cheyenne. And so we did that. We got together at Blacktooth Brewery last night. And so it was like this big, I've escaped Colorado
Oh,
group.
that's funny.
Yeah. And, got together and enjoyed a beer and did all kinds of chatting. And Grant came, and my son Joshua moved to Cheyenne this week.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah,
Yay.
yeah, he got here
Welcome, Joshua.
Tuesday. Yes. And so, he was there last night. It was just a really great time. But this is how it went for me yesterday. I- I'm up doing a final walkthrough at 7 a.m., get to class from 8 to 4, went to lunch with Tony and Krista, got done at 5 actually. Then I'm heading to go get the keys for that final walkthrough because they actually did a remote closing, so I didn't have to be there for the closing today. I had to walk through the house and make sure everything got, the cleaning people did what they needed to do, got the keys, went to Blacktooth, um, sat with clients that I have helped move to Cheyenne, got done about 8:30, got home, delivered the keys to the new homeowner's daughter, and was in bed by 9. And so literally from, and in between all of that, I'm texting and I'm emailing, did this happen? Did that happen? Whatever the case is. And so it's interesting to sort of jump from one thing to the other, but it's all real estate related, but it's all different kinds of things. And it isn't just contracts and opening doors, it's just
No, it is
all
not.
day
And
thing.
it's balancing a lot of it and multitasking and
Yeah.
yeah.
And I know that there's many other realtors out there like you as well that we go the extra mile for our clients. If I've got a client that's new to Cheyenne and she wants to make a friend, I'm going to try to help her do that. I remember you telling me the story of a lady, that little old lady that after you closed, she needed help getting to the store and to,
I did. I took her to the bank a few times. I even
yes.
visited her at she went to assisted living. I even went
Yeah.
and like saw her new little place. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those are just because we're people and we want to see everybody succeed. And so that's what we do.
Mhm.
But anyway, well, this has been fun, and I'm going to be really curious how all this turns out. And
Awesome.
yeah, yeah, it's a good time. So thank you for taking time out of your Boston trip to hang out with
Yeah, of
me at L
course.
Triple C. And by the way, this is like, it's supposed to be a window. Apparently, all the windows have been back ordered. And so, literally, there's been times where Steve is like talking and somebody's drilling into the wall behind us. So, right. And plus, it's colder back here because, like I said, this is the
The
windows.
windows. Yeah.
Mhm. But otherwise, it's been good and I'm ready for the weekend. But actually, still, yeah, I got things going on tomorrow. But
You're
so,
ready to not sit in a chair.
what's that?
You're ready to not just sit in a
Sit in a
chair all
chair.
day.
Yeah. So, do you have anything more fun planned in Boston?
Um, well, just the welcome, there's like a welcome event tonight. That's what I was talking about, the
Sure.
MGM. And then, yeah, just a lot more classes.
What's
And
your
yeah,
husband doing while you're gone?
he's here with me.
Yeah. I mean, while you're in
Oh yeah,
class.
he's with me.
I figured.
Yesterday he went with Belinda's husband Dan, and they found a few cool places down by like the harbor and on the water, which I hope I get to go down there and see that too.
Yeah.
They've explored the train, or I don't know what it's called here, if it's called the tram or the metro, or I don't know,
Sure.
every city has their own name for it. I don't know what its
Yeah.
name is, but we have ridden on the train and everything, and that was fun. They
Cool.
went and learned how to navigate their way around Boston. So yeah, that's what he's been doing.
I know Grant said to me, he's like, why aren't we going? And I'm like,
You should go. And that's what I want to mention also. Like anyone can go to these, and I know they're expensive, but the Cheyenne Board of Realtors does offer scholarships for these,
scholarships.
and you can apply. And I'm not going to lie, we don't ever really have that many applicants.
Oh, well, now I think I
So
saw next
people
year's
need
in
to
Houston.
apply and see, and it's
Yeah.
awesome. And you come along with other people from Wyoming. There's people here from Jackson. There's people here from Casper. Like you get to also know people in your state. And then obviously thousands and thousands of realtors from everywhere.
Yeah. Is it in Houston next year?
It is in Houston.
Houston.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
This one is my fun, I think is the best conference, the NAR NXT. There's the legislative meetings that are always in DC, which I love DC. So, and
Yeah.
that's really cool, but that's where we get to go like lobby for real estate issues. And that one's good too, but this is a fun one.
Sure. Awesome. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day and I will see you on Tuesday.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. And for all of our listeners, as you all know, Lindee and I sell real estate for Peak Properties. So if you're looking to buy or sell, we'd love to help you with that. And you can find us on our social media channels and Beyond the Front Door podcast on Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. And if you have an Alexa, you can ask her to play us for you and she will do that. So anyway, enjoy your day, enjoy your weekend. All
You
right.
too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Whether you plan to buy, sell, or invest in southeastern Wyoming, turn to Peak Properties. Family and veteran owned and operated, we work diligently for you. Unlike other larger companies, we take time to learn about you, understand your specific real estate needs, and remain easily accessible if you have any questions.
Being a veteran and family-owned and operated company means a high level of commitment, trust, and loyalty. Our family culture sets us apart. We work as a team. We develop not just professional, but personal relationships with our clients. When you choose Peak Properties, you become part of our real estate family.
Looking to relocate to Wyoming or just move across town? Peak will be there for you every step of the way. Recognized for excellence and dedication in the real estate profession, we're proud to be one of the most trusted and knowledgeable names in our industry. Let Peak help you find your dream home or investment property today. Our agents will make sure you're informed and listened to as they guide you to fulfilling your real estate goals. Reach out today.
We have sold and purchased several homes through Peak Properties, and each time I've been impressed. They are great about guiding us in the right direction and always being in our corner.
Peak Properties. Let our family show you the way home.